welcome back to yoga. My name is Ashley. A few weeks ago, we did therapeutic back bends just on their own. This week, I wanted to focus on opening the front body in order to deepen our deeper back bends. For props today, what you'll need are 1 or 2 blocks and a bolster if you have it, or you can substitute with a stack of blankets, pillows, or something like that. Let's go ahead and get started. Come into a comfortable seated position. Feel free to close your eyes or gaze at a point out in front of you and connect to your natural breath. Take a few moments here just to settle in, acknowledging how you're feeling today emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Give yourself permission to skip postures that you don't feel comfortable or ready to do today, or to take different variations, add or subtract from the poses, making your practice more efficient and safer for you. Take a full breath in, and as you exhale, let it out with a sigh. Full breath in, exhale. One more, inhale, exhale. And gently open your eyes. Let's begin in cat and cow. Come onto all fours, hands and knees. Make sure your wrists line up under your shoulders, knees line up under your hips. Then begin to round your spine, starting from your tailbone, moving all the way up your spine, chin toward your chest. As you inhale, reverse the movement, again starting from your tailbone, moving all the way up your spine. Lift your chest, lift your chin, broaden your sitting bones apart. Then continue back and forth at your own pace with your breath. Hoping to open up the spine with these rounding and then lengthening movements, getting it ready for what's to come. So ideally, this practice, we don't want to exhaust ourselves by opening up for back bends in a difficult way. The idea is to open up for back bends in a little bit of a softer way. That way we conserve our energy for those back bends. Feel free to move your hips, shoulders, head, and neck a little more organically now. Swinging hips side to side, rolling your shoulders and head. Relax your jaw, relax your eyebrows. Do crazy 8s, spirals, whatever comes naturally and feels good. Few more long breaths. Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Lift your knees up, reach your heels back. Feel free to bend your knees for your first down dog. If you're straightening your legs, tone your thighs and lift your kneecaps. Reach your heels toward the floor. Push your hands down and forward, feet down and back. Lengthen from hips to armpits. Draw your ribs back toward your spine. And breathe. Feel free to move around in your down dog or stay still. Whatever feels best for you today. Balance on your outer right foot and your inner left foot, keeping both hands firmly planted in the floor. Push through your inner and outer feet so the soles of your feet come toward the floor. Maybe they do press into the floor. Then lift your inner left thigh away from the floor and your outer right hip and thigh away from the floor. Lengthen from hips to armpits. Sideways dog, second side. Outer left foot, inner right foot. Lift your inner right thigh, outer left thigh away from the floor. Keep your shoulders even across. Push evenly through inner and outer foot. Back to center. Parivrtta Adho Mukha Svanasana. Bring your feet together. And then shorten your down dog stance a little bit, stepping your feet forward slightly. Bend your right knee, then take your left hand to your right outer shin or ankle and grab your foot. Maybe grab your ankle, maybe just hold on to your outer leg. This one's a little more difficult than usual because we took our feet together, so you have a narrower stance. Stay working here or extend your right leg straighter, reach your heel toward the floor. Maybe gaze toward your armpit. If this variation is too difficult with your feet together, always feel free to separate your feet. Lower your left hand, bend your left knee, reach for your outer left shin, ankle, or foot. And then from here, work your leg toward straight, keeping your twist, and maybe gaze beyond your left armpit. Tone your abdomen. Keep your breath breathing. Lower your hand. Downward dog, regular stance, step your feet back and wide. Take a moment. And lower your knees to the floor. Grab your 2 blocks. If you're just doing 1 block, you're going to place your block to the center of your mat in this position. If you're doing 2 blocks, you're going to place your 2 blocks side by side. So I'm going to turn them so they face you so you can see. You want 2 thumb widths away from each block. And that's for your spine. So you're going to place those 2 blocks up toward the top of your mat and then make sure they're even. And then sit on your bottom behind your blocks. And you're going to take the bottom tips of your shoulder blades to that corner of the block that's closest to you. And if you're too far away, scoot back a little bit. If you're too close, scoot forward and just kind of adjust and make sure you get yourself in that position. Once you're in this position, you can take your whole shoulder blade flat onto the blocks, interlace your fingers behind your head. Now draw your elbows toward your face, suck your armpits back, push your head into your hands, hands into your head. Then lift through your sternum, out through your elbows, and reach your elbows toward the wall behind you. Breathe. Stay here or lift your head level with the rest of your spine. Then slide your hands out from underneath you. Take your arms straight back, pull your throat back, look back, and then maybe take the backs of your fingertips to the floor. If you prefer to point your palms toward each other, you can also do that instead. Just depends on what your shoulders like better. Different rotation. Keep reaching back and down with your arms. Keep your head back, bend your elbows, take your fingers just behind your ears to your skull and use your fingers to lift your head up and then lift your torso up. Place your hands on the floor and then use that to push all the way up. Great, now if you still have 2 blocks, take one of your blocks behind the other. Make sure they're in the middle of your mat toward the top. If you don't have 2 blocks, just do the first one like we just did, again with your 1 block. If you have your second block, go ahead and lie back. If you have this second block, it's just there for under your head to start because eventually we're going to move it anyways. So those of you who only have 1 block, it's totally fine. We're going to go there anyway. So you can stay working here. Do the same thing. Take your arms up and then reach back, either palms toward each other or palms face up and reach fingertips toward the floor. Keep lifting through your sternum, push down through your sitting bones. Tone your abdomen slightly and breathe. All right, now you can stay here or bend your elbows. Take your hands to that block that's under your head and then lift your head up, slide that block out from underneath you. Take your wrists together and then take your wrists behind your skull so that your fingers are free. Now push your head into your arms into your head, and then reach fingertips toward your block. Some of you might be able to tap just your fingertips to the edge of the block, and that's okay. Some of you might not even be able to touch the block yet, and that's fine. So you just do your best. Some of you might be able to grab around the edges of the block. And if you can crawl your fingers more toward the other side of the block, whatever your body will allow you to do. Everyone's different. And now from here, you can stay or take your arms back again. Palms together maybe. And try to touch the back of your head to the block. Whew, so much back bend. Now bend your elbows, hands behind your ears. Use your fingers to lift your head up. Place your hands on the floor. Be careful, push your hands down and sit up. Great. Remove your blocks. Set them to the side somewhere and then come back to downward facing dog. Use your down dog to lengthen your spine. Re-neutralize your spine. Sometimes that's a lot for the upper back for some people, so just be gentle with yourself. Do any extra movements you need in your down dog that make your body feel a little bit better. Couple more breaths. Bring your ankles together and step your right foot outside your right hand. Lower your back knee to the floor for low lunge. Slide your back knee back until your front knee is directly above your ankle. And then do or don't take your forearms to the floor. You can also use your blocks under your elbows if you need some extra height, like so. So there's that. Otherwise, elbows to the floor. If you don't have blocks, just take your palms down. And then lengthen the front side of your body. So instead of doing a rounded action in your spine for today, lift out of your hips, pull your sternum forward and up, and lift your chin. Push it down and back through your right foot, down and forward through your left knee. Squeeze your right inner thigh toward your outer right shoulder. Feel free to, you can wiggle your hips side to side, or just stay still. Do your best not to drop your sternum. Keep your spine long. Chin lifted. Downward facing dog. Feet together. Then step your left foot outside your left hand. Lower your right knee to the floor. Make sure your left shin is straight up and down for this variation, and lower your forearms either to a block or the floor. Squeeze your inner left thigh in, push your right knee down and forward. Tone your abdomen, lift your torso out of your hips, lift through your sternum and lift your chin. Push your elbows down and back. Maybe wiggle your hips, maybe stay still. Notice the areas that feel the most tight. Try to direct your breath and your attention there. Downward facing dog. Feet together. Anjaneyasana, step your right foot forward between your hands. Lower your back knee to the floor, slightly angled back behind your back hip. And then take your right hand to your right thigh, left hand to your right thigh, and lift your torso. Now from here, take hands to hips, draw your right hip back, left hip forward, and then square your hips here and squeeze your legs in toward the midline. From here, press your tailbone forward like you're trying to round your lower back, move your ribs back, and then lift up through your sternum. Lift the front, sides, and the back of your rib cage up all at the same rate, and then take your arms straight up over your head. Push down and forward through your back knee, down and back through your right foot. Now don't back bend yet, but Push your right foot down and back, left knee down and forward as you lower your hips. When you lower your hips, you're going to go into a little more of a back bend. So press your tailbone forward, move your ribs back, and then lift up through your sternum, up through your rib cage. Move your shoulders back, arms back. Try to get your arms behind your ears if possible. If that's not possible for everyone, that's totally fine. Now press your tailbone forward, ribs back, lift up, sit a little deeper, tailbone forward more, ribs back, lift up, maybe go back, breathe. Try to keep more length than anything else. That's what matters most. Lower your hands, downward dog. Whew. Step your left foot forward. Lower your back knee down, slightly behind your back hip. Place your hands on your thigh to lift your torso up. Squeeze your foot and knee toward each other. Left hip back, right hip forward. Tailbone forward, ribs back. Lift up through your sternum. Reach your arms up. Keep all of this length. Left hip back, right hip forward. Squeeze your legs in. Lift up through your sternum. Move your ribs back, torso back. Lower your hips a little bit. Tailbone forward, ribs back. You're going to cycle through. Lift up, lower, lift up, lower. Keep all of that and lengthen your spine as much as you can and maybe go back. Take your hands to the floor. Step back, downward facing dog. All right. Next up, pigeon prep. Take your right knee behind your right wrist. Point your right toes toward your left hip. Lower your left knee in line with your right heel and slide your left knee back. Squeeze your knees toward each other from front to back and side to side in toward the midline. Stay upright. Walk your hands back. Press your tailbone forward just like you did in the last pose. Surround your hips with your hands. Press tailbone forward, ribs back. Lift up through your sternum. Lift up through all four sides of your rib cage. Draw your shoulders back. Lift up through your sternum. Pull your shoulders back, throat back, tailbone forward. Lift your chin. Hold here. Come up to a neutral spine. Take your right hand either on your right thigh or in front of your right shin. Push down and forward. Bend your left knee for a quad stretch. Take your left hand inside your left foot and pull your heel toward your outer hip. Start to turn your elbow up, fingers forward. Square your hips forward, right hip back, left hip forward, right ribs back, left ribs forward. Lift up through your chest, move your shoulders back, tailbone forward, ribs back, chest up, shoulders back, tailbone forward, all that same work. Maybe look up. Lower your foot. Pigeon, second side. Take your left knee forward. Lower your right knee behind your left heel, slide it back. Squeeze your knees down and toward each other. Tailbone forward, ribs back, sit up tall. Then walk your hands to surround your legs, your hips. Again, tailbone forward, ribs back, lift up through your sternum, pull your shoulders back. Tailbone forward, ribs back, lift up through your torso, lift up through your sternum, shoulders back, head back. Do that as many times as you need and hold. Come back to a neutral spine. Left hand in front of your shin or on your left thigh. Push down through your left arm, bend your right knee. Grab your right foot from the inner edge. Bend your elbow, pull your heel toward your outer hip. Turn your fingers forward. Move left hip back, right hip forward. Left ribs back, right ribs forward. Tailbone forward, ribs back, lift up through your sternum. Pull your shoulders back, head back, maybe look up. And breathe. Downward dog. All right, now we got this pose called King Arthur's pose. So it's best if you have some sort of padding under your knee that's going to be at the wall. So that could be your bolster. I'm going to put my blanket up against the wall. I'm going to start with it kind of away from the wall. Mine's about maybe this far away from the wall. And then what you're going to do, you're going to take your right knee to the blanket, your toenails facing the wall, so toes not curled under. And then you're going to take your left foot flat on the floor, like so. Now from here, take your left hand to your left thigh, right hand to your right hip, and stand up. This might be where you stay, or you might be able to slide your blanket and your knee back so that your shin is straight up and down and not at an angle anymore, and adjust as necessary. Now, if your foot is not happy on the wall, you can also pad the top of your foot with some sort of a cloth or a blanket so that it's not bone on wall. So from here, press your tailbone forward, ribs back, push through the left foot, and then push your sitting bones back toward the wall. Try to push them evenly toward the wall. So not right sitting bone first, but both at the same time. Now, name of the game is to try to touch your back to the wall, but not in an arch like this. You're trying to get your hips to the wall first. Then, if your upper back gets to the wall without getting into too gross of a back bend here, great. Otherwise, just be straight up and down and just work length here. Most importantly, we're opening up these hip flexors here. So take your time. You can take your right hand to your right heel. I know you can't see me very well, but push hand down into your heel and push your knee down into the floor. A couple more breaths. Such a good one. All right, take your hands to the floor and then slide your knee out and switch sides. Take your left knee to your blanket and then slide it back if you know you're already going to be able to. Otherwise, wait. Take your right foot to the floor under your right knee and maybe slide your knee back here. Lift your torso. Push your foot into the wall. Push your right foot down into the floor and forward. Press tailbone forward, ribs back, and lift up through your sternum. Great. Now from here, you can take your hand to your heel, push down through your knee. Keep pushing tailbone forward, ribs back, sit up tall. Try not to do too much of a back bend. Really focus on that left hip flexor. And be straight up and down as best as possible. All right, lower down. And come back into downward facing dog. Tone your thighs, lift your kneecaps, deep breaths. Twisted monkey lunge. First, step your feet together, then take your right foot outside your right hand, lower your left knee to the floor. Turn your right toes out slightly. Take left hand forward into the left, fingers point out, and take right hand to right thigh. Twist to your right. Lift your right arm up. Bend your back knee, reach back and grab the outer edge of your left foot with your right hand. Pull heel and outer left hip toward each other. Keep the twist. Lift up through your sternum. Draw your shoulders back, head back, curl back. Long, lengthened back bend. Lower your foot. Switch. Step your right foot back. Left foot forward. Lower your right knee. Turn your left toes out. Take right hand forward into the right, fingers point out. Left hand to left thigh, twist. Move your shoulders back. Lift up through your sternum. Keep the twist. Lift your left arm. Bend your back knee. Grab your foot. Pull heel and outer hip toward each other. Keep twisting, lifting up through your sternum. Push your shoulders back. Lift your sternum up. Head back. And breathe. Who knows, maybe your twisted monkey even feels a little better than usual with all that prep work. Lower your foot, downward facing dog. Lower your knees, and then come all the way down onto your belly. Belly down, shoulder stretch. Take your left arm to the left, palm flat. Move your armpit back, and then roll to your outer left hip. Scoot your hips slightly forward, take your right leg up, bend your knee, and step your foot to the floor behind you. Feel free to drop your ear to the floor. And breathe. Opening up the chest, pectoral muscles, but also just along the front line of the body, all the way down to your hips. Untwist, switch sides. Take right arm to the right, palm flat, shoulder back, roll into your outer right hip, hips slightly forward, lift your left leg up, bend your knees, step your foot back. Feel free to drop your ear. Untwist. Come back to center. Now, we're going to go for blanket roll Cobra. So grab your blanket and unfold it once so that it looks like this, and then roll it into a tight roll. Once you have your tight roll, take it about halfway down your mat. Now, you're going to place your hips, your hip bones behind the blanket roll. So this part of the roll is on your belly. So, like so. Blanket roll should just be just below your bottom ribs and just above your hip bones. And then take your hands down for a moment, your forearms down, curl your toes under, lift and lower your knees, push your elbows down, lift and lower your ribs. Make sure everything feels even underneath you. Now from here, point your toes straight back. So we're starting out into the Sphinx-Esque Pose. From here, place your hands one at a time where your elbows were. Now keep your hands light, move your shoulders back, and squeeze your elbows in as best as your blanket roll will let you. Now push your tailbone forward, ribs back, and then try to push up a little higher off of your roll. So what that roll does is it gives you kind of like a head start. So you might be able to get a little bit more into your Cobra than you would without the blanket roll. Hold here, breathe here. Press tailbone forward, ribs back, lift up to your sternum, shoulders back, lift your chin. And then slowly lower back down onto your blanket roll. Now we're doing blanket roll Dhanurasana. This one's where you can also instead use your bolster. So you can either keep this blanket roll or unroll your blanket if you have your bolster, and then fold it once so it matches the shape of a bolster, or that it's in a rectangle shape. Place that on your bolster, or just use a bolster if you have one of those round ones, it's fine. And then place that where your original blanket roll was. Now, this one, you're gonna do the same thing, hips behind your blanket setup. That way your torso elevates. Then from here, bend your knees. From here, grab your feet, push your knees down, scoot them in a little bit. Now push your hips down strongly into the floor. Move your shoulders back and kick your feet back. Now flex your feet, slide your hands down to your ankles. Shoulders back, lift up their sternum, squeeze your inner thighs toward each other. Lift through the back of your head, lift the base of your skull from your spine. Don't hold your breath. All right, slowly come on down and then come up to all fours. Take your blanket set up off to the side, don't need it now. And then do a down dog. Notice if your down dog feels a little freer than usual. And just notice how things are feeling in your body, not necessarily judging them as good or bad. Just be aware. For some, back bends can be aggravating. And if that's true for you, this might be where your practice ends, and that's totally fine. And if it is, do yourself a cool down. You can fast forward to the cool down sequence. Otherwise, lower your knees to the floor. This is where it gets interesting. If you need padding under your knees, you can use your blanket so that if you have nervy knees like me, they don't get so nervy. Make sure your knees are hip distance. Try to line up your knees so that the middle of your kneecap lines up with the bone prominence of your hips. Then, from here, let's start with toes curled under. Camel. Place your hands on your hips like so. Push down through your knees. Press your tailbone forward. Now grow your legs longer, then lift everything, the front, sides, and backs of your rib cage up like you're getting taller. And from here, press your tailbone forward into that space. Lift up through your sternum, draw your shoulders back, throat back, tailbone forward, chest up, shoulders back, throat back, curl back. Maybe grab your heels at the same time. Push down through your heels with your hands. Watch out for your neck just collapsing back. Shoulders back, tailbone forward, lengthen the back of your neck. Bring heart up first, head last. Palms in front of your heart. Quickly interlace your fingers, place your pinkies directly under the base of your skull and pull up gently. Yeah. That'll help if you get headaches after that. Next, same thing, only taps the feet on the floor. Feel free to just do toes curled under again. Push down through your knees, down through the tops of your feet. Squeeze your legs in. Take hands to hips. Press tailbone forward, lift up through your sternum, move your shoulders back. Lift all of the sides of your torso up as you go back. Tailbone forward. Maybe switch the position of your hands somewhere that it feels better. Shoulders back, throat back, head back. Hands to feet. Push hips forward. Try to get hips above your knees, shoulders above your feet, and breathe. Heart up first, head last. Interlace fingers behind your head. Make sure pinky comes under your base of your skull and lift up gently. Take deep breaths. All right, release your hands. Lie down on your back. All right, bridge pose. Take your shoulders back to the floor, walk them in one at a time toward your spine. Push head, shoulders, feet down. Make sure your feet are hip distance, point your toes straight ahead. Now push down through your feet, lift your hips. Maybe grab the outer edges of your mat or interlace your fingers underneath you. Straighten your arms, walk your shoulders in again. And then lift your chin. Keep your chin lifting away from your chest so you keep that curve in the back of your neck. Stay working here, or walk your feet to surround your hands for Jatush Pidasana. Push your heels down, hips up, chin away from your chest. Separate your hands and maybe grab your hands around your outer ankles, thumbs and index fingers together, not webbed.
Stay working here or place your hands by your ears for Urdhva Dhanurasana. Push down through your hands, shoulders back, lift your chin, push up to the top of your head.
From the top of your head, draw your shoulders back and away from the floor. Push feet down and away from your head to roll toward your nose. Then push your arms towards straight. Rotate inner thighs down, outer hips up, inner arms back. Then pump your sternum forward so you can try to line up your chest with your wrists. Maybe walk your feet in. Try not to turn your toes out. Push down through your feet, lift through your outer hips, shoulders back again, and breathe. Lower all the way down.
Good news is it's over. No more back bends. Rest your knees together, feet wide, hands wherever comfortable. Take a few slow, deep breaths. If your breath is erratic and quick, actively slowing it down will help to calm the nervous system down. Keep that long breath as best as you can. Heel to your feet to hip distance, and then cross your right ankle over your left knee. Clamp your heel toward your hip, and then widen your right knee to the right. Draw your legs towards you. Feel free to keep your left foot on the floor. And then interlace your fingers around your left thigh. Maybe grab your left shin. Maybe draw your legs in a little more closely. Maybe rock side to side on the right side of your back. So we did a lot of back bending. Today you could feel super caffeinated. If you did this sequence at night, you may want to do more forward folds, hip openers, twists, things like that, or some grounding practices. If you did this during the day, you can utilize the energy if you'd like. If it's not too much, you can use that to clean your house or to do your laundry, do chores, whatever you need to do, yard work, etc., etc. Or if it's too much, just like I said, for the people who practiced at night, do some grounding practices, things that help bring you back down to the ground. Switch sides, take your left ankle over your right knee, clamp your heel toward your hip, widen left knee to the left, and draw your legs in more closely. Grab your right thigh or shin, gently rock side to side. It is normal to feel more emotional in the days or hours after you've done a big back bend practice. So try to be gentle with yourself as well. A few more slow, steady breaths here. Great. Unhook your foot and your hands. Bring your knees towards your torso. Do a couple more rocking motions side to side. And then eventually roll over to one side. And then sit up to roll onto your belly. We're going for downward facing Shavasana. Feel free to make a pillow with your hands. Something I really like after back bends is you can take something heavy such as a blanket onto your lower back in downward facing Shavasana and just let it rest there as you rest. Very nice for rooting the sacrum. So feel free to take any other position that feels comfortable for you and rest here for at least a few minutes. If You can try 5, maybe longer. And whenever you feel ready to enter your day, be slow and mindful as you do, taking this quality, this energetic feeling into your day, or this open-heartedness into your life, and allow it to influence not only you, but others around you for the better. Thank you all so much for practicing with me today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhana Urvarukamiva Bandhana Mrityormukshiya Mamruta Triyambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhana Urvarukamiva Bandhana Mrityormukshiya Mamruta Shaniyorabhisanavantuna Om Sam Shanaiskara Shaniyorabhisaravantuna Om Sam Shanaiskara Triyambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhana Urvarukamiva Bandhana Mrityormukshiya Mamruta Shaniyorabhisaravantuna
Shavasana.